Let me take you back to the 80s when Nintendo was taking the world by storm with the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System. They had a successful 2D platformer in Super Mario Bros. And a successful adventure game in The Legend of Zelda. And the next game that Nintendo would be working on, specifically a Nintendo R&D 1 I believe, would be a 2D platformer that combined Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda in a sense of genres, not actually a crossover. The 2D platforming from Mario and the non-linear item collection from Zelda. The game would go on to be called Metroid by combining the word Metro and Android, and was inspired by the movie Alien. It's in space, girl, other things I'm too dumb to realize. The game came out in August 1986 in Japan, August 1987 in North America, and in Australia it was January 15th, 1988. Cool, it came out on my birthday. But alongside the Famicom release, according to Wikipedia, there was also an arcade release? Now, I can't find anything else about this release of the game outside of these screenshots, and I don't even know if they're legit, but it's just weird thinking about someone playing a game like this at an arcade, but it was the 80s, I guess, so anything was possible. And also, there are a few differences between the Japanese Famicom release and the North American NES release that just don't really make sense. For example, the Famicom release, which came out first, has a save system, and the NES release, which came out second, has a password system, despite having a full year to take out the save system, I guess. Now, as a Metroid fan, I have only played this game one time before, and I don't exactly have fond memories of it, but it's been a while. People change, things change, so let's see if I was wrong about it or if it's aged as poorly as I remember. You play as Samus Aran, a bounty hunter from Earth whose family was murdered by the space pirates, one in particular traumatizing her named Ridley. Afterwards, Samus was adopted by a race of space birds called the Chozo, and they infused her with their DNA, making her part Chozo and raised her as a Chozo citizen. Years later, when she's become an independent bounty hunter, the space pirates attack a research facility belonging to the Galactic Federation, and they take a sample of these beings called Metroids. Little floating blobs that can drain the life out of anything they cling to. The space pirates want to turn them into weapons, and since that can only end badly, the Galactic Federation hires Samus to go to their home place on planet Zebes and destroy their mother brain that controls the base's defenses. This is where the game actually starts. Most of the backstory was part of the manual and this prequel comic that I haven't read yet. But when you actually start the game, you're thrown to this area called Brinstar, and if you go immediately to the left, you get your first upgrade, the Morph Ball. See what I mean by being non-linear? Most 2D games would have you go to the right first, but doing that here won't get you very far, because the Morph Ball is needed to get through these small one-block passages, and getting through this pillar area is where one of the first problems of the game becomes extremely prevalent. You go back through this room and this room a lot, and it gets monotonous extremely quickly, especially because these rooms just consist of making the same jumps over and over again. And not to mention, you only start the game with 30 health with your max being 99, and every time you die, you only have 30 health. If you're like me and using a map, then here's where you'll go straight for missiles and bombs. Missiles are needed to break red doors, and bombs are needed to break blocks you can't shoot. Samus can't crouch or aim down, meaning that you need bombs for pretty much everything. And despite Samus being able to aim in one more direction than Mega Man can, it feels a lot worse here because the game doesn't feel like it was as well designed around limited aiming like Mega Man does, and it gets very annoying when you're fighting pretty much any enemy in the game. There's one more item I recommend you get in Brinstar called the Long Beam, because it makes your shots go across the whole screen as opposed to being this little pea shooter. And it's one of 3 beam upgrades, but it's the only one that's permanent. There's the wave beam that goes through walls, but you'll lose it if you get the other beam type, which is required, the ice beam. It freezes enemies with the first shot and does damage with the next shot, making enemies take twice as long to kill. And once you have at least the long beam, because you don't need the ice beam yet, you can head to Kraid by going back to the second room in the game and bombing the floor. Here's where I should mention that I'm playing this on the Switch specifically to use the rewind feature to save time. I know real old school gamers don't need the rewind, but listen, I'm not gonna grind from 30 health to filling up 2 energy tanks I grabbed, which is a total of 299 health, every time I die, especially when enemies only drop 5 health at a time if they drop health at all. And when the game can kill you like this, it's clear the game was cheating first, so I think I get to cheat back. This area is a pretty good example of what Metroid's non-linearity is all about. There are a lot of missiles and a health item, but nothing that's required to get before you reach Kraid. You don't even have to come here first, you can go fight the other boss Ridley, which is also pretty cool considering the time it came out. It's Metroid 1, I have to find things to appreciate somewhere. But this example also comes with a drawback. All these rooms look the damn same. When I first played this game without a map, there would be times where I left a room thinking, oh, I must have already been here, this looks familiar, but no, the entrance is just identical, and it doesn't help that a lot of the area is just wasted. Like, on the map there's this fake Kraid, but you don't need to bother with him. He doesn't lead to anything that I can see, so it seems like a punishment for exploring. And according to the Metroid wiki, he dies in one missile, but tricked players into thinking that they were done with the real area, so why is he there? It'd be one thing if killing him gave you like a health upgrade or missiles or something cool, but there's nothing in this whole area, so I just don't see the point. In the room before the boss of this area, that bastard just hit me through the door transition again. But yeah, this is what I was talking about with grinding earlier. There's one guy here, and he spawns infinitely, and you're about to fight a boss, so you want to be at full health, and that means grinding this one enemy, hoping that he drops health as much as possible so that he can give you only 5 health. Sometimes he'll give you missiles when you're already full, sometimes he'll give you nothing when you're not full on anything, but you have to grind this one guy unless you want the boss to just kick your face in. Anyway, this is Kraid, say hi to him. Do it. He shoots these spikes at you that you can freeze and throws these claws at you that make it a bit harder to dodge the spikes. And your reward for killing him is a shit ton of missiles, pretty much making these your main weapon for the rest of the game. Now you're ready for the third area of the game, Norfair, and it has some of the last items that are new abilities. They're the high jump boots, take a guess what they do, and the screw attack, which becomes your main weapon for small fry enemies from now on. It electrifies your spin jump and one-shots pretty much everything, and this makes grinding a bit less annoying as now there's less risk of getting hit and taking more damage and are able to heal. But it doesn't increase drop rates, so it's still extremely annoying. The last item I grabbed was the Various suit back in Brinstar to reduce damage. This of course meant backtracking after getting the high jump from Norfair back to the top of Brinstar, which meant more of these stupid jumps, but it's my fault for wanting the Various suit immediately after getting high jump. And with this suit and the screw attack, the main gameplay loop goes from annoying to monotonous. Sure, backtracking is easier as you're not afraid of dying as much, but it still takes pretty much the same time and it's just extremely boring. And it doesn't save you from all the jank, like getting stuck in lava, getting hit while going through doors again. Sometimes the jank helps in your favor, like if you roll off a ledge in Morph Ball and then unmorph you can jump on the air, but that's only really useful in a couple of places, but it's the only exploit I know, so I'm bragging about it. Ridley is a lot easier than Kraid in my opinion, both the boss and the area. Probably because I have double the health and missiles, but this area is also much better designed. I never felt like I was going in circles. There are multiple ways to reach Ridley. Yeah, shh, be very, very quiet. I'm hunting Widleys. There are multiple ways to reach Ridley, and I never felt like 2 rooms were identical. Except for these 2, but that's besides the point. And Ridley's also a lot easier to exploit. If you freeze his attacks, then he just sits there doing nothing, and if you're using Wave Beam, you can hit him from underneath his platform. With both Kraid and Ridley defeated, you can create this bridge to the last area, Turian. This is where the Metroids themselves show up and why you need Ice Beam because it's their weakness. It's also important to have a decent supply of missiles because you need them to kill the Metroids, open I think just this one missile door, and destroy these Zebtites? I don't know what the fuck they're called. This is the only completely linear area, and at the end of it you destroy Mother Brain, which causes the place to self-destruct. With the 1 health I had after the boss, I took myself up through these tiny platforms and... Wait, Metroid's a girl? Oh, I ain't beat the game fast enough for that joke to work. So yeah, this game is rough. All the rooms look the same, you have to go back and forth through the same areas multiple times. It's hard as balls until you get screw attack, and then it just gets boring. It has some NES jank, isn't really fun at all. I don't think I've ever felt like a game was this much of a chore since DMC2, but at least here I got through this game in one sitting. Also, for the record, this game is much better designed than DMC2. I don't want to say this isn't as bad as DMC2, not even close. It's just, that's the last time I felt this annoyed about a video game. It's really annoying. There isn't much fun here for me. I know this game has its fans, but I just can't see what they do. If I wasn't playing with a full map, I probably wouldn't even finish the game at all. I don't mind exploring on my own, but there's never a clear indicator on where you're supposed to go, or no sense of flow of, okay, it's clear I need to go here, or here. And when some things are hidden behind blocks with no visual indicator that it's special, I'm not gonna bother going in blind. Sure, I cheated, but the game kinda cheated first. The game was boring, tedious, and not a lot of fun at all. But it was their first try at a game like this, so it's actually pretty impressive. You do genuinely feel like you're getting stronger as you collect more items, but at the start you just feel so helpless, and it doesn't work as well as it does in a game like Zelda at all. It's rough around the edges, but it's far from terrible. It's definitely a guide game. If you go in with a map, it will be a much better experience, and who knows, maybe you'll like it a lot more than I did. I'm not you, I don't know if you'll like it, I can only say that I didn't like it, so go play the game for yourself and don't just say that you pretty much did because you watched some asshole on the internet talk shit about a game. Oh, the battery? You plugged in. Awesome. Awesome. My fucking... You know, we gonna do the outro like this. Shout out to my camera just dying. So we're just gonna do the outro like this, and maybe I'll put something funny here if I feel like it. So we're not off to a great start with Metroid, but it certainly has promise. We're in a very similar position that we were with Crash, so hopefully it's looking up in the same way. We'll see next time with Metroid 2 Return of Samus. I've never played it, so I don't actually know if it's that big a step up as Crash 2. But until then, subscribe with notifications on, like this video, go watch my other reviews, and I will see you next time. Go away. You can't see me, I do have a gun. Oh, and also, was I using this side before? No, I was using the other side. See, this side is now where I put my examples. My collection. I finally have a bag in there. And that's a bag of rice that I bought for a video that I never made. That's gonna be the outro for this video. Me talking about that bag of rice I bought for a video I never ended up finishing.